At 62, Mark had never paid much attention to the word creatinine until it appeared on a lab report. Like many UATS adults, his first instinct was to search online, where he quickly found lists promising to lower creatinine by avoiding certain nuts or eating others. But that number needs context, not a detox. Creatinine is a waste product produced during normal muscle metabolism, and the kidneys remove much of it from the blood. Clinicians can use blood creatinine, together with factors such as age and sex, to estimate ACFR, an important measure of kidney function. A change in creatinine does not automatically prove that one food damaged the kidneys, and a single nut or seed cannot be expected to cleanse them or reverse kidney disease. That realization changes Mark's question. Instead of standing in the grocery aisle asking, "Which nut will lower my creatinine?" he begins asking, "What does my kidney function mean, and which foods fit my needs?" This distinction matters because kidney nutrition can vary according to laboratory results, overall diet, kidney disease stage, treatment, and portion size. Before throwing away the almonds, cashews, or walnuts in the pantry, a smarter and safer first step is to understand what those numbers mean and, when kidney disease is present, discuss your individual dietary needs with a qualified healthcare professional or renal dietitian. Once Mark understands that creatinine is a signal rather than something a detox food can simply wash away, his next question becomes more practical. Does kidney trouble mean every bag of nuts has to leave the pantry? Not necessarily. The tempting approach is to divide foods into two simple categories, good for the kidneys or bad for the kidneys. But CKD nutrition is rarely that black and white. What fits one person's diet may not fit another's, because kidney function, disease stage, treatment, blood potassium and phosphorus levels, protein needs, sodium intake, and portion size can all influence food choices. Even the same nut can tell two different stories depending on how much is eaten and what else is consumed throughout the day. A measured serving of unsalted nuts, for example, is very different from repeatedly snacking straight from a large container or choosing heavily salted varieties. That is why Mark's grocery store investigation shifts away from searching for a universal kidney-safe label. Instead, he starts looking at serving sizes, ingredients, sodium, and the bigger picture of his meals. For people with KKD, the goal is not to fear an entire food category, but to understand which choices and portions fit their individual laboratory results and nutrition plan, ideally with guidance from a healthcare professional or renal dietitian. That brings Mark to one of the most familiar choices in the snack aisle, cashews. Their creamy texture and convenient packaging make them an easy everyday snack. But kidney health requires more context than simply calling them good or bad. Cashews contain useful nutrients, including plant protein and unsaturated fats, while also contributing phosphorus and potassium. For someone whose kidney function is reduced, these minerals may deserve closer attention if laboratory results show that controlling them is necessary. But this does not mean cashews automatically raise creatinine or that everyone with CACD must avoid them. The more revealing question is how much is actually being eaten. A measured serving is very different from reaching into a large bag several times during a workday, where portions can quietly add up. Preparation matters too. Salted, flavored, or seasoned cashews may bring considerably more sodium into the diet, an important consideration for people managing blood pressure and kidney health. Standing in the grocery aisle, Mark now turns the package around instead of trusting the healthy-looking front label. He checks the serving size, sodium, and ingredient list, then considers what else he will eat that day. The lesson is becoming clearer. With kidney nutrition, the amount, the product, laboratory results, and the total diet often matter more than labeling one food as forbidden. The same lesson becomes even clearer when Mark reaches for almonds. In American grocery stores, almonds are everywhere. In snack packs, trail mixes, breakfast bowls, and products marketed as heart healthy. They deserve much of their healthy reputation. Almonds provide vitamin E, unsaturated fats, fiber, and plant protein. But healthy does not mean unlimited, especially when kidney function is reduced. Almonds also contribute potassium and phosphorus, two minerals that some people with CKD may need to monitor depending on their laboratory results and stage of kidney disease. The key point is that an elevated creatinine level alone does not automatically mean someone must eliminate potassium-rich foods or stop eating almonds. Individual blood potassium levels, medications, kidney function, portion size, and the rest of the day's diet all matter. Mark notices another familiar problem. A small serving can easily become 2 or 3 when almonds are eaten straight from a large bag while driving, working, or watching television. Suddenly, the issue is no longer the almond itself, but the pattern around it. Instead of treating almonds as either a superfood or a forbidden food, he measures a portion and looks at the whole meal. That simple change reveals the larger lesson of this investigation. Kidney-friendly eating is not about fearing healthy foods. It is about matching food choices and portions to your individual needs. Chestnuts bring Mark to an important turning point in his grocery investigation. Unlike many nuts, chestnuts contain more carbohydrate and much less fat, and discussions about them sometimes focus on oxalates or their effect on blood sugar. But that does not mean everyone with an elevated creatinine level needs to remove chestnuts from the menu. The reason is simple. Kidney stones, chronic kidney disease, diabetes, and an elevated creatinine result are related to different health questions and should not be treated as if they were the same condition. Oxalate may deserve particular attention for some people with a history of certain kidney stones, while carbohydrate portions may matter for someone managing blood glucose. A person with KKD, meanwhile, may have different priorities based on kidney function, laboratory results, medications, and the rest of the diet. This is where Mark realizes how misleading a universal avoid this food list can become. Instead of seeing chestnuts as dangerous because of one nutrient, he asks what health issue is actually being managed and how much he plans to eat. That distinction protects the story from another common nutrition myth. One concerning ingredient does not automatically make an entire food harmful for everyone. The smarter approach is to match the food, portion, and preparation to the individual health context rather than making decisions from creatinine alone. After learning why foods cannot be judged by a single nutrient, Mark reaches a small bag of ground flaxseed and finds another claim worth questioning. Flaxseed offers real nutritional value. It provides fiber, plant-based alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA omega-3, and lignans, naturally occurring plant compounds. Those qualities can make flaxseed a useful ingredient in a balanced eating pattern. But that is very different from saying it can lower creatinine, cleanse the kidneys, improve filtration, or repair kidney damage. Research on individual foods and kidney health continues to evolve, and promising findings should not be turned into guarantees for people with CKD. In Mark's kitchen, the distinction becomes practical. Instead of treating flaxseed like medicine, he sees it as food. A small amount of ground flaxseed can be added to oatmeal, plain yogurt, or another meal when it fits his overall nutrition plan. And because kidney diets are individualized, even seemingly healthy additions should be considered alongside laboratory results, medications, fluid needs, and other foods eaten throughout the day. The larger lesson now comes into focus. No seed needs a miracle claim to be valuable. Flaxseed can contribute useful nutrients, but it should complement appropriate kidney care, not replace medical evaluation or become a promised shortcut for changing a creatinine number. That same evidence-first approach leads Mark to macadamia nuts, a food often praised for its rich flavor and high content of unsaturated fats. Their nutritional profile differs from almonds and cashews, which may make them worth considering in some eating plans. But this is where another attractive health claim needs to be separated from what the food can realistically promise. Macadamia should not be presented as a way to reduce kidney inflammation, repair damaged kidneys, or improve filtration simply because they contain particular fatty acids. For Mark, the more useful question is much simpler. Does a reasonable serving of unsalted macadamias fit his individual nutrition needs? Back in the grocery aisle, he compares a plain, unsalted package with a heavily seasoned version. The difference reminds him that the nut itself is only part of the story. Serving size, sodium, total calories, laboratory results, medications, and the rest of the day's meals can all influence whether a food makes sense for someone managing CKD. Rather than eating directly from the bag, Mark measures a small portion and treats it as one component of his diet, not as kidney medicine. By now, the pattern is becoming impossible to miss. A food does not need to heal the kidneys to have nutritional value. The better choice is the one that fits the person's needs, portions, and overall eating plan without relying on miracle claims. The investigation now brings Mark to walnuts, another food surrounded by impressive health claims. Walnuts provide unsaturated fats, plant-based ALA omega-3, fiber, and a variety of naturally occurring plant compounds, making them a nutritious option in many balanced eating patterns. But nutritional value should not be confused with a treatment effect. Eating walnuts should not be presented as a proven way to improve kidney filtration, rebuild damaged kidney tissue, or directly lower creatinine. Those promises go far beyond what a single food can reliably deliver. Instead, Mark applies the same lesson he has learned throughout the grocery aisle. Look at the food in context. An appropriate portion of unsalted walnuts may fit some people's diets, while someone with KKD may need different choices depending on kidney function, laboratory results, medications, calorie needs, and the rest of the day's meals. At home, Mark chops a modest portion over his oatmeal rather than eating handful after handful from the package. It is a small visual change, but an important one. Walnuts do not need to act like medicine to earn a place on the table. Their real value comes from the nutrients they contribute to an appropriate overall diet, not from promises of kidney repair. And that brings Mark closer to the most important discovery of all. Perhaps the biggest difference is not which nut he chooses, but how much he eats and what the label reveals. And this is where Mark's investigation reaches its most important discovery. After comparing cashews, almonds, chestnuts, flaxseed, macadamias, and walnuts, he realizes that the answer was never hiding in a simple list of good and bad nuts. It was hiding in the portion, the package, and the rest of his diet. A measured serving is very different from repeatedly reaching into a large bag while driving or watching television. The product matters too. Raw or unsalted nuts can have a very different sodium profile from honey-roasted, barbecue-seasoned, or heavily salted varieties. So Mark turns each package around and starts with the nutrition facts label. He checks the serving size and sodium, reviews potassium or phosphorus when that information is available, and scans the ingredient list for added salt and other additives. But even the label is only one piece of the puzzle. What matters is how that serving fits with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, medications, laboratory results, and individual kidney needs across the entire day. For someone with KKD, there is no universal number that makes every nut safe or unsafe. The practical lesson is simple. Do not judge the whole bag by its healthy image. Measure the portion, read the label, and consider the total diet. That shift, from fearing individual foods to understanding the full pattern, is what prepares Mark for the final question. Is there really one best nut for every person concerned about kidney health? And that final question brings Mark back to where his investigation began. Standing in front of a shelf filled with nuts, searching for the one choice that could protect his kidneys. But now he understands why there is no universal best kidney nut. Someone living with CKD who is not on dialysis may have different nutrition needs from someone receiving dialysis. A person whose blood potassium is elevated may need a different strategy from someone managing phosphorus, while another person may simply have noticed a change in creatinine that still needs proper medical evaluation. These situations cannot be solved by the same list of foods. Cashews, almonds, chestnuts, flaxseed, macadamias, and walnuts each have different nutritional profiles, but none should be promoted as a miracle food that cleanses, repairs, or restores the kidneys. Mark looks once more at the bag in his hand, checks the serving size and ingredients, and puts his focus where it belongs, his individual needs and overall eating pattern. For people with KKD, laboratory results, disease stage, treatment, medications, portions, and guidance from a healthcare professional or renal dietitian can all shape appropriate choices. The takeaway is not to fear nuts or chase a perfect one. It is to make informed choices that fit your own health situation. Better kidney nutrition begins not with a miracle food, but with better context, better portions, and better decisions.